FineWoven, Standby, and iPhone excitement. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. What happens before the show starts and after we sign off? Informative, fun, and completely off-script conversations. That's what. MacVoices After Dark is an exclusive benefit for our Patreon subscribers. Sign up now at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. The panel picks up where they left off in the FineWoven discussion, talks about the standby feature in iOS 17, and considers why some people are more excited over the iPhone than others. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
And back to you, Chuck.
Yes, no, I'm back. I don't know. Brittany, I think you broke my audio, which is a really neat trick.
I had no idea Comcast had that kind of power.
Always blame Comcast. Always.
I mean,
yes.
I'm not doubting that they do. I'm just surprised that they do.
Oh, I'm not surprised at all.
That fixing Brittany's internet broke Chuck's. I mean, those are opposite coasts. That's why I'm impressed. I'm not even mad.
Well, I feel bad because I'm saying, Brittany, you're no audio, no audio. And then I realize nobody has any audio that's coming through. So I'm sorry, Brittany. So I gather we're into the FineWoven discussion.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
No, we're done.
Well, we did it, but we could recap and say basically they're garbage. They're
garbage, and there are other options.
And
there are plenty of other options.
Here's your casual reminder: they're not the only game in town, right?
And that's what people get hung up on. I've never had a good experience with Apple cases over the many years. I just stopped. I just not going to waste my money anymore. And Spec is great. This Catalyst I have here is great. There are so many other case manufacturers out there.
You know what case I actually miss though is their battery case.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
The only thing about the FineWoven cases, though, this is a fabric case. Should it surprise anyone that A, they mark, B, they stain, C, that they probably give a better grip than just a slippery piece of titanium that you're holding in your greasy, sweaty palms. But so I looked at all these folks and say, if you buy a fabric case, I don't care what fabric. I don't care who makes it. You're going to have this issue.
I want to be clear. You're talking to somebody who was surprised 10 years ago they were still selling leather cases. But I think some of the concern is that these are priced significantly higher. They're priced at their previous leather price.
Yeah, $50.
And, if they do not stand the test of time, which we don't know yet, in fairness, then people will feel ripped off, and they probably should.
Yeah, that and people like Stephen Hackett have reported that there are additional quality controls just beyond the FineWoven or quality control issues beyond the FineWoven materials.
Okay.
Such as Ben.
And that'd be a different thing.
Misaligned port holes.
Yeah, that doesn't seem great.
Now that's a whole nother matter. That's quality control issues. That's kind of inexcusable.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially at $50 a whack. Like when I have a number of cases. You pick a phone, and if it's one that I ever carried, I probably still have a couple of cases for it around here somewhere. And in all of those cases, like I've had clear ones and color ones and all different brands and all different kinds. And for the most part, like they've all been pretty good about, making sure the ports are aligned, making sure like there's a ridge around the front, so if you set it face down, you're not setting the glass directly on the table and those kinds of things. So like there are very basic things that can happen. But if I'm setting out to buy a case and I scroll through the list of them on Amazon or at Best Buy or whatever, like when I'm looking at those, like I will look at those and go, I'm not paying $50 for that case. And so the fact that people are mad about the $50 case, I'm like, you can get one for like $6, right? Like, this is a highly solvable problem. And, the only issue you will have is not being able to see your case over the pile of money you didn't spend on that case. Like, it can be really easy to do. And they can be reliable and from known names. Like my Smartish case is a $20 case. It's like $19.95 or whatever. And you can get them in patterns. You can get them that hold credit cards in the back. You can get, all kinds of different options so that it actually works for you the way that you want your case to work.
So the only question, and Britt, I think you were the one that just said it, how will these hold up over the test of time from a wear perspective, not a marking perspective, not a staining perspective? Is this fine woven material? Because I did their, one of their typical breakdowns and teardowns of one of these cases. They subjected it to a ridiculously powerful microscope and found that some of these fibers are significantly less than a human hair, all finely woven. Sorry. And so, I have to wonder, are they going to wear a whole lot better than the $6 piece that, has crushed velvet on the outside and is going to wear off in 2 days?
That's a good question.
I'm asking the question. I don't know, and I will not be getting a fine woven case because it just doesn't appeal to me. But I have to wonder if, from a wear perspective, if they are going to wear similarly to leather. And Britt, to your point, the leather cases, I mean, that's sort of a socio expectation that leather is going to weather and and look rugged and just have more character over time. Cloth really doesn't do that.
I mean, magic cloth does. But
well done.
The like little rubbery ones that they sell, those have always been terrible. Like they're cheaper than the other ones, but they'll fall apart in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Mine did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, point taken. Now, but Britt, I want to know: did it fall apart from use, or were you pulling it on and off on a regular basis?
I have the right to take my case off as much as I want to and go run around naked.
I wasn't asking for that.
One of them I was taking off frequently when I got the 12 mini because it just feels so amazing. And it was a month and it was looking worn.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
Mark, you had a point.
Yes, I do. I think that this is not the first time that we've seen Apple come out with some sort of new case or other technology to support their bigger, grander goals. For instance, under John Ivey, the iPhone 5 and all the chamfered edges and things, and it turned out it had a manufacturing problem that crimped supply, and had problems. The original iPhone 4, the antenna band around the case and the famous Steve Jobs, you're just holding it wrong. So I think Apple makes mistakes in that. I think this fine woven thing it seemed to me watching that with that video of Mother Nature getting pissed off at all the Apple people, challenging them on what you're doing to protect the earth and the environment. And, we've heard that for many years about how Apple is trying to green their supply chain and be carbon neutral. I think, that, fine woven was motivated by that. And maybe they had a blind eye to, product quality, or maybe they were willingly deceiving themselves about what the quality of it is, or maybe they just didn't have enough time to really know. But, I think they were motivated, to, there's a lot of dialogue out there about, cow burps and cow flatulence, and carbon and methane emissions. So, I think, they're just, looking to continue to further, their green agenda. And if you think that's good or if you think that's bad, that's for you to decide. But, it seems to me that this is just part and parcel of what they're trying to do.
I agree with it, Mark. And I think I said it when the fine woven case was announced, that in a way, I'm kind of surprised that they've stuck with leather as long as they have, except for maybe just the fact that consumer demand was there. But in keeping with their progressive political correctness kind of thing, abandoning leather is not a big surprise. It is a big surprise maybe if they didn't come up with as good an option as we would have liked, but that's a whole nother discussion.
And if you still want one, there are still other places that will sell you a leather case. Like,
sure, that's the beauty of the market.
I don't have a very, very strong, deep inner need for a leather case, but I've used a couple of Nomad cases. Nomad cases are great, whether they're leather or not. Like, so again, like, Apple's not the only game in town when it comes to stuff for your iPhone, just the phone itself, otherwise, everything else is optional. So.
And I've had a number of Apple leather cases for various iPhone models, and I've enjoyed them. The downside is, they would scratch or show scuffs, maybe more readily than you would expect. But they've been quality devices. We'll have to see, this year or next year if I get an experience with FineWoven. But given everything I've heard, it doesn't sound like that would be my case of choice, for a new phone.
Okay, forgive me because I was gone for a little while. Did anybody touch on standby?
No,
not yet.
No.
Okay, I'm loving standby. I'm a little disappointed, at least at this moment, that you don't have more customization options. But that said, that will come. I don't think there's any question about it.
Right.
But I love the fact that it turns red, so it's not blinding me at night. It fades away. I had to learn the hard way that it doesn't just stay on all night, which actually the app that I was using before did just that. It displayed a clock all night. And you really don't need it showing anything if you're not watching it. So I just think this is one of those things that, why didn't they do this before? But for whatever reason, I'm glad it's here. Mm-hmm. Is anybody else using standby mode at night?
Yeah, I started using it. I was on my nightstand, and it takes a little getting used to. That's for sure, because I wasn't used to it. And plus, the charging stand I have is a Qi charge, Mophie, so it's landscape, so you have to turn it sideways. I'm tempted just to get the MagSafe charger and just switch it out and use it that way instead, only because it'll stand better, and then it'll go into standby mode quicker, because sometimes it's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, you're right, David. I found that the device. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, I was just say I used it at work. I had it, just on the side there to see the calendar and time as a quick reference. I thought it was great.
Yeah, the only thing is you have to have it plugged in, whether it be MagSafe or through your just cord. The connected cord. Yeah.
Any other iOS 17 features that have captured your imagination?
Well, it too has the interactive widgets, which I really like. I've been enjoying like the interactivity piece.
What widgets do you have that have updated to be interactive?
Well, the one, honestly, the one I use the most is PCalc, Dice by PCalc.
I was, because that is my only one right now. That's why I asked.
Yeah. That one and Carrot Weather has updated. It's not super interactive, but I don't need it to be super interactive. I just like that one. So those are the two that I've used. There was something that I was just looking at. I think it was something in Photos that I can't remember now, that it was telling me, you can do this. And I wasn't sure if it was just because I have a new phone or if it was something that was specific to like using the camera, because I don't remember. So I'll have to look for it.
Britt, you're having an issue with it turning on in your pocket?
Standby mode. Because I when I sit down and I have my phone plugged in, I have these horizontal, like it's suddenly horizontal in my pocket, because that's what my pockets look like in yoga pants, which is basically all I wear now. And so I'll pull my phone out. Why is it so hot? Oh, standby mode turned itself on. Cool.
That's interesting though, because maybe the inside of the pant pocket is enough to make it think like A, it's dark, but B, that it's, I'm surprised it isn't turning off after a certain period of time. Like it does at night.
It's plugged in. like it's supposed to. And it's also not an always on display. So it is not as good at power reservation. I might have actually turned it off at some point because I was sick of seeing it. And the only MagSafe holders I have are for tripods. That's standby mode is not what I need there. So
I don't know. Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I'll throw two here. I'm surprised anybody hasn't brought it up, but I guess we're not making phone calls as much as we used to. Is the fact that they changed the end button with all the other buttons now in one place? Yes, and I like it. I like it a lot more because of the fact that we always had to flip between pages to get to the keypad or get to the audio menus or being able to add someone. The buttons weren't there. You had to go somewhere else to get to it. So I thought in Apple's infinite wisdom by putting these all 6 buttons in one place, I'm finding that to be
There were 6 buttons before. I'm confused. So I've been on the beta the whole time. So I've seen multiple iterations of the buttons, and I now do not remember what it looked like in 16.
Right. Well, 16, the end button was all alone by itself. So and you had
it's still at the bottom in the middle, which is exactly the wrong place for it to be.
It was until that one beta version that they moved it to the left when everybody was freaking out.
They had it, which was most of the beta was there, which was wonderful. I want it literally anywhere but where it is. I didn't realize it was poking out from the others. I just didn't remember that.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really happy that it's laid out this way. Getting to the keypad is much easier, especially when you're on.
Move it away from the middle.
It is to the right.
Move it from where your thumb wants to go. Move it from where your thumb wants to go.
Yeah. Yes. The other thing I'm liking now is the way in messages they added all the apps over at the plus button. You tap it and it's got the beautiful menu. I'm so happy the way that is compared to how you had to get that ridiculous menu at the bottom in 16 where you had to swipe back, swipe left to get to these, and you can customize them, which is even really a cool thing. And then one other thing I'll add is the fact that you can be able to now all the security code you get sent to you whenever you're trying to connect. You could set it up for it automatically delete it, which I think is amazing, including email. So if you get an email of it, it'll also do that. So those are, I've been talking about this for the whole I was just on another show and our show last week. These are some really exciting things. There's more. And people aren't talking about them as much, but I think those things I just talked about they're pretty good. Some pretty cool features they've added.
I don't know why it is I argue with you guys all the time, but I actually like the buttons at the bottom, and I like the hang up button right in the center because it has improved my ability to do one-handed work with the phone so much more. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking back to when Apple moved the URL bar in Safari on the phone down to the bottom, and everybody threw a fit. And then you learned that, hey, this isn't so bad. I kind of like it. At least I did. I shouldn't speak for everybody.
Honestly,
Brian? No, go ahead, Ben. Then Brian.
Honestly, the way they have it now is so natural that I didn't even notice they changed it.
Yeah.
But you've been honest.
Infrequently, we might make calls too.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Brian, you have likes and frustrations?
Yeah, one that I love is the offline maps. I was so excited, when it was announced, and immediately started downloading maps for some rural areas that I occasionally travel. And so I was really looking forward to that. And so on my journey in the next couple of weeks, I'll be taking advantage of that. Being the first time using it with offline maps, I'll probably still do the same thing for Google Maps as a backup. But having Apple Maps available as an offline mode is fantastic. The one that I'm frustrated about, and this is only like a temporary frustration until I literally just change the setting, it's not going to be an issue after that, is that I carry both a personal phone and a work phone with me. And they're both now updated to iOS 17. And sometimes they both reside at the same time in my pocket. And when I pull them out, they like to do the name drop. automatically. And so like I'm pulling out the two phones and they're both wanting to name drop with each other. I'm like, stop.
You're putting two phones in the same pocket?
All summer.
I have no sympathy
every time.
For you. No. Kelly, no.
We would take out when
Kelly,
we would take out our phones for a Pokemon raid, I had to stack my two phones that were on the beta together.
I know.
And then they would name drop to each other.
Yeah. But you weren't carrying them around in a pocket that way. So, Brian, I'm sorry. I'm not sad for you at all.
All right. Fair enough.
I did once. So.
I do have my home. I do have a personal phone and I do have a work phone, but I have to put them in separate places because otherwise I'm going to pick up the wrong one and do something dumb with it. So one lives here, one lives there, and never the twain shall meet. This is the way.
Mine are two so unique. One is the SE model and the other is the 13 mini. So easy to just from the feel real quick. I'm like, oh yeah, different phone.
Yeah. Get a FineWoven for one and a leather for another, and then you won't get confused. Hey, I want to get the chat room in here. Let's see. I'm a bit behind on this. Brett bought a MagSafe stand just so he'd use standby mode, and he's looking forward to its improvements in the future. I'm right there with you, Brett. Barry says stickers. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing.
That's
a whole nother topic.
Yeah. And Brett says he was really excited about the check-in in iOS 17, but he can't get it to work yet. I have not played this check-in
coming. I don't think it works yet. I think it was a later this year when they went back over it, I think. So I've been waiting for it too.
So hey, just a quick note here. I'm told that my image is flickering a little bit. I'm seeing it, and I'm blaming Brittany and Comcast. Since she broke my audio, I'm figuring she must be affecting my video as well. Let's see. So
blame the middle woman.
Gotta blame somebody.
Comcast.
You can even take the South Park Blame Canada song and rework
Blame
it for
Canada.
Comcast.
You took it right out of my head.
I'm so happy, Dave.
Yeah. Personally, I think Brittany's using some of that Night Sister magic that she found out on Ahsoka.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm so stoked that Night Sisters are a thing again.
I know, it's so good. Okay.
All right.
God.
There we go, Star Wars.
I know. I'm tempted to bring up the Batman versus Star Wars thing I put, or Darth Vader video I put in our Slack this week, but I'm going to leave it alone. One thing I did want to bring up, though, because David and I had this conversation, I guess Friday or Saturday, is the idea that some of the tech press is like, yeah, iPhone 15, ho-hum. And yet, man, there is still a whole lot of excitement about this. You know, there were lines around at Apple stores around the world, even though, and if you do you want to blame that on a supply chain issue that they couldn't get enough to be delivered? Or do you just want to look at it as enthusiasm? Tim Cook, I think, was working the doors at the New York City Apple store.
Mm-hmm.
And I know mine got here extra early. My UPS guy got here about 8:45 a.m. Eastern time, and I already was watching for him, so I met him at the door, and he laughed and said, "I'd like handed it to me and said, I'd like to make sure I don't have to leave these. I just get them to hand them to somebody." And I said, "I guess you're busy," and he said, "Yeah, I've delivered about 15 already." That's 8:45 a.m. Mm-hmm. And he said, "I've got a truck full of them." And so I'm intrigued by this yawning response from some of the tech press. Anytime there's a new iPhone, there's this palpable excitement, and maybe it's because we're part of the community. But I never hear about this with any of the Google phones. I hear critical. None. Yeah, I hear critical reviews, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, no, you never hear any of those things. Android is it's definitely not so. But I think Mark had a point, but I think he's leaving too.
I think there used to be something like that on for some of the Samsungs, but then ever since that one was catching on fire, then I think that pretty much took the air out of it, and I haven't heard any enthusiasm for that anymore.
Yeah, that would do it. Hey, I know Mark has a heart out, so I'm going to say thank you, Mark, so much for coming. Good to see you as always, you and your background. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Okay, very good. And continue chatting about your iPhones, and forget what the tech press says. You just listen to focus on your own experiences.
There you go.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Go enjoy some Sonoma wine.
Okay, bye.
I'll mention with the UPS. I want to kind of add on to that before we move on here. I didn't get my phone until 5:30 p.m. Eastern Central Time, and I go to the door and I kind of smiled at him. I said, "Hey, how many of these have you delivered today?" He said about 30, and all the years that I've been doing a UPS driver, I've never seen how many people run to their door and come see me because he never sees them.
When I got my 12 Pro, the UPS guy came to the door and he went, "Man, everybody's home today and talking to me and like, what's going on?" It was really
yeah.
So, and then I helped him get his Apple Pay working before he moved on to the next place. True story.
There you go.
The thing that I think gets lost a lot in this is that we've sort of gotten to the point where there's not a whole lot of dramatic and new that we can add, right? Like first, there was a camera, but then the camera could shoot video, and then you could unlock it with your phone, and then you could unlock it with your face, and you could buy stuff, and you could tell it to do things. And like, those are huge fundamental shifts. And a lot of what we've gotten this time, first of all, a lot of what we've gotten this time is refinement. And second of all, as people get off the yearly upgrade train, because the phones get have gotten dramatically more expensive since the good old days of $5.99. Who pays that much for a phone? Lol. Since then, like if you're not on basically the lease program, then if you're not getting one every year, then like when I got mine, I got a 15. I had a 12. So I got all the upgrades and features that came with the 13, all the upgrades and features that came with the 14, and all the upgrades and features that came with the 15. So I've gone 3 generations of processor now. I've got, whatever battery management, whatever power management that they've come up with in the meantime, the stuff that, if I'd had an even older phone, there may be entire hunks of iOS that are simply unavailable to me because I'm using an 11 or I'm using a 10 or a 10S. And so all of those things, like I'm getting all that stuff too. So those are all like super duper upgrades. Cause I think a lot of like, especially in the tech press, when everybody like gets up early for Phonemas every year and, goes off and to become part of the, the running of the nerds to all go place their orders online, and you do all this stuff, like sometimes you can kind of forget those things. Cause like I'm still discovering stuff before we even get to it's a USB-C cable. And I've got this weird button on the side that I'm still kind of mad about because silent mode is not the easy thing it used to be anymore. And I'm kind of mad about it. Which is, a separate conversation for another day, because maybe I'll figure it out and it'll be fine. We'll see. But I got a whole bunch of other stuff with this phone when I got it. And, on top of all the fundamental new stuff that we just saw this year, I've gotten all the stuff from last year and all the stuff from the year before. And not, when you do that every year, you kind of forget like, oh yeah, if you didn't get last year's phone, then you are also getting. If you didn't get the 2 years ago's phone, you are also getting. So there are people who probably were holding off until until it mattered whether or not they had 5G reception on their phone, until they didn't have to have another lightning cable, until it did come in a size that they actually wanted. There's lots and lots of reasons why people would hold off on an upgrade. And, as a result, you're getting 3 phones or more phones worth of upgrades at the same time. And so, the tech press is all yawning about it because there was no dramatic new thing. Well, maybe nobody calls those people. And so they will never get to experience the joy of live voicemail. And so it will never matter to them. And so they just are writing off the whole thing as dumb. And, there's so much to like in every upgrade, because you also kind of get a new phone every time we get a new operating system when they add some of that stuff too. So there's still a lot going on. The problem is they have all that stuff on that slide at the end of the iOS 17 features that they never ever talk about. Right. So yeah, like David has experienced this, Chuck. I know you too. Like I will, when I'm here and we're talking about something, I will blurt out, in iOS, you can go check this thing or do that, whatever, because you never know if somebody forgot about that. And oh yeah, that's the greatest thing. Like I show people you can adjust how bright the flashlight is when you turn the flashlight on, and like it blows people's minds. Like you don't know what you don't know. And like it's professionally and personally, it is my job to know this stuff. And still people will do things, Brittany and I'll hang out and I'm like, wait, what was that? What did you, whoa, like it happens all the time. So there's so much stuff in there that people, that I think people get a little not cynical about, but kind of blasé and sort of take for granted. Yeah, it's new and it's so much faster and it's so much better and it's really amazing. And, you can take a picture in the middle of the night and totally have it turn out and, big whoop. Like to people, it's a big deal,
The panel wraps up this MacVoices Live conversation next time as we talk about two aspects of the iPhone 15, the camera and the weight. We also touch on the health aspects of the Apple Watch, and the panel shares some personal experiences. That's next time on MacVoices. I'm Chuck Joyner. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.